Yes?
Within our school system, so what would you describe as being the system that maybe isn't very humane, or why the schools aren't as effective, at least from your vantage point? Some people would say it's because test scores aren't high enough, or people aren't.
I think there are many, and there are many overlapping and interconnected systems. I think the fact that the purpose of education is to create future job holders as opposed to future solutionaries isn't good enough as just a basic purpose. And so everything is geared toward making sure that our students have certain skills. And we've created systems layered on top of that of constant testing and mostly standardized tests. So we're diminishing critical thinking and arts and creativity at the same time as we are focusing the lens just on test scores and do you know this information and can you prove it. And I understand the purpose of that, and I think it is extremely well intentioned. It's really important that young people grow up to be literate, mathematically, verbally, and technologically. I mean, that's a given. But I think part of the problem is we've gotten so focused on that we have failed to see a bigger picture. And here's a thought experiment for you. What if every single child in the United States graduated and was able to find a job, or went on to college and was able to find a job? So we had 100% employment. Would we have succeeded in our educational mission? Well, I think that most people in America would say, absolutely. That was our goal, and we succeeded. We're done. That was great. We should give ourselves a big hand. My personal feeling is that actually isn't good enough. Full employment isn't good enough because we're destroying our environment. We're causing so much destruction in the world. We still have rampant and escalating worldwide slavery. We have institutionalized animal abuse on a scale that is truly unimaginable. We have so many problems. I mean, global warming, we know, is a potential catastrophe if we don't solve that. But we are not. That could be interesting. That would be good on the video, though. You could put that on YouTube. We're not educating for that. So I think that the first system we have is that we have a system based on a narrow purpose. And then we have the system of testing. We have the system of grading. You know, so how many of us, I mean, I just wrote about this. It's so embarrassing, but since I wrote about it, I might as well just tell everybody. When I was in my 20s, and I was walking in a park with my then boyfriend, now husband, and I should tell you, I got the best of the best education. I went to a fancy schmancy private girls' school in Manhattan. I went off to an Ivy League college. I got my master's from that same college. I was pretty well educated, and I did well in school. So, it's not as if I didn't take the tests and pass them well. So we're walking in this park in Philadelphia, and there were these plaques for the Revolutionary War. And I turned to Edwin and I said, and I was sort of, embarrassed to say it a little bit. I knew I should be a little bit embarrassed, but I asked anyway. I said, what's the difference between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War? And he was stunned. As everybody should be, right? I mean, that's shocking, right? And then he looked at me aghast, and I sort of kind of pieced it together. I had to go really back, like, okay, so, and he's like, Zoe, revolutionary. What was that about? I'm like, Now, I'd taken American history, for crying out loud. I'd gotten A's on all those tests. None of it stuck. Now, how many of you have had that kind of experience? Obviously nothing that bad, because that is just so embarrassing. But how many of you have had that kind of experience? You take the test and it's gone, right? I mean, we've all had that experience. And I think it's because of how we teach. We teach to test. Kids have to memorize stuff, and then they have to pass a test, and that's it. It's gone. It's just gone. So we have that system, that it's just a constant test taking and memorization and passing and moving on to the next level. Lack of critical thinking. I think even the system of having a 45-minute or even an hour and a half class and then a bell. So what if you're in the middle of something? What if you're having a great conversation? What if you really want to delve into something? But no, time to switch. I know you were just doing chemistry, but now it's time to do Spanish. I mean, it's so disorienting. And so none of the teachers are integrating anything. So there's no core themes that get integrated. And those are just a few of the systems. Yeah.
What's a MOGO approach to paying federal taxes when you know that some of the money is going to landmines and nuclear technology?
Well, the thing about MOGO that I love is that it's individual. There is none of us know the MOGO answers to everything, and if we think we do, then that's a little problematic. Because the answer that many people would give will be very different. I mean, there are people who make a point of earning less than they will have to earn to pay taxes at all. So some people take that approach. Other people take the approach of cheating the system and lying on their income taxes, and then donating an equivalent amount of money to causes that they believe in. Of course, some people cheat on their income taxes and then don't donate anything, which I personally don't think is a no-go choice. But I don't know that anybody could give you that answer except to delve into it and say, what do I think is the MOGO choice? The thing that I like about this concept is that there are sometimes easy answers, but most of the time it's complex. And sometimes what is MOGO for you personally, like not to go to jail, is not necessarily MOGO for the people who are going to be affected by those landmines that your tax dollars are funding. And we will always come into conflict. And the key, I think, is to recognize that you're part of the MOGO equation without trying to give ourselves undue weight. Now, most of us, when we're making MOGO decisions, most of us, not all of us, but most of us will give ourselves a big old chunk of that pie, right? You know, there's human rights, there's the environment, there's animals, and there's me, you know? And that's just because that's how we operate. I mean, I do it. I like to try and make MOGO choices, but I'm doing it all the time. And so that's a real question for you to grapple with, because people answer that question differently. Yes?
Well, I enjoyed your entire approach. Sometimes I come to these things and it's so guilt-ridden. It's like if you don't leave this talk without guilt, you miss something. And you didn't do that at all.
Yay, me!
Even how you answered that gentleman, it was awesome, because what you're emphasizing is exactly your 7 principles. Joy, what's your value system, pick an option that fits. And you reminded him he doesn't want to go to jail, which was kind of but that is, you are inviting people to a fun way of thinking and living that creates change. We have way too much guilt out there. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And if you could just write down every word you just said so we can put that on our website, that would be an awesome testimonial. Thank you so much.